Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Wednesday, March 1st. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack, ready to break down the Wednesday slate. We got some regular season college hoops, conference tournament games. We'll get to each conference tournament game on the show today, so looking forward to that. Let's begin in the Big East. Regular season action winding down. Xavier and Providence. Providence 3.5-point home favorites, 151.5 the total. I laid the 3.5 with Providence. There's really not much more that needs to be said. This team on their home court, unbeatable this year, in revenge for a loss to Xavier at the Cintas Center. Tough 2-point loss in overtime for Providence earlier this season against Xavier. I think they get payback here tonight in this game. They've got Bynum back the last few games. There's still no Fremantle, still no Kiki Tandy, a banged-up Xavier bunch on the other side. Inconsistent as well. They are off a big road win at Seton Hall, but prior to that, we had seen this team scuffle in three back-to-back Big East road games against Creighton, Butler, and Marquette. Cheap price. Give me the Providence here on this home floor in revenge mode. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, just they're laying a few points. The last two have gone to overtime between these, and they seem like they play close games. Even with 3 men out, they can score. Their defense isn't great. I lean Providence here. I just don't think I could take it in the end. I think they get the win. Yeah, and that's all I had. Sorry, I was looking something up.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. A heartbreaker, by the way, on the best bet for me yesterday. Clemson was plus 6.5. They lose by 7. Unbelievably tough to lose by a half point, but it is what it is. Sometimes that's going to happen. All right, Vanderbilt and Kentucky. We've got Kentucky 10-point home favorites, 145.5 the total in this game. I like Vandy here getting 10 because if you actually look at Rupp Arena when they've made the trip here the last couple of years, they've given Kentucky a tough game. There's no question. Now, Kentucky kind of handed it to them earlier this year at Vanderbilt, but I think Vanderbilt on the road catching 10 is a good look here in this game. I don't trust Kentucky in this spot necessarily. And again, Vanderbilt, has been a feisty little road underdog here at times this year. They've got the history of playing Kentucky reasonably competitively here in this building as well. So I like the Commodores here. Plus 10 on Vandy. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, Kentucky's playing a lot better as of late. To me, this game, when I just looked at it, seems like Vandy's in this one and it's close. Right there down the wire, or they just get blown out and lose by 20. So I think it's kind of one or the other. What Kentucky team do we get? Do they play great defense and pull this off? I don't know about their defense because I don't think they've been very good all year. Now they've looked better in spots, especially at home. But I want to look at Vandy. I haven't bet it here, but I'm damn thinking about it.
All right, we got next up Maryland, Ohio State in the Big Ten. Maryland down to a pick 'em. They were slight road favorites, but money coming in on Ohio State, 135 the total. Look, situationally, Ohio State needed a win in the worst way. They finally got one against Illinois on Sunday afternoon at home. There's no telling, that could be, maybe that's a spark. It certainly could be. I've seen this before where teams just struggling mightily. They can't get out of their own way. They finally win, and then they get red hot. It's like they get all of a sudden play much better out of the blue. Maybe that happens for Ohio State, but I need to see them step up and play well for a second straight game, win for a second straight game before I'm ready to back them, before I'm comfortable backing them. Let's not forget this is a team that's been in the doldrums offensively. They had been ripped apart too at times on the defensive end of the floor. Let's see if Ohio State can bring it for a second straight game before I'm fully ready to buy into the fact everything is going to turn around again for the Buckeyes. But I'm not also not taking Maryland here because we know Maryland can be a bit of a different team on the road. We've talked about that throughout the conference season. So I'm off this game. How about you, Connor?
I'm off it too. I mean, Ohio State gets that win. Like, I want to bet them again. Everything's flowing to them. This line's come down. This spot, it just seems like they can win here. I just don't trust them in the end. I kind of like the under in this game. It's already come down a couple points. It's tough. I'd still lean under at the 135 here. And one of the things is Maryland's problems on the road, like you just touched on. They had that big win, the Minnesota team that's very bad and bad at home. But other than that, I don't want them. That's what people are seeing. I think they got that win and they can win again. I'd rather watch. I don't want my money on it.
All right, we've got the Iron Bowl in basketball version of it. Auburn, Alabama. Alabama here, 10-point home favorites, 154.5 being the total here in this matchup. Certainly, I think this is going to be a tough spot for Auburn. They got drilled at Kentucky in their last game, 86-54. It was ugly for that Auburn side in that game. Alabama had to battle to get past Arkansas, but they did, 86-83. The question is, do you want to lay 10 in this matchup, that many points with Alabama over Auburn? And it is worth noting that Alabama, the last 2 times they've hosted Auburn, they lost 81-77 last year at home. But the year before that, they ended up winning comfortably, 70-58. So we'll see which version of Alabama steps up here. I don't have enough confidence in Auburn to take them here. Even getting this number of points, I lean to the over. That's about it. What do you think here, Connor? Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah, I just can't take Auburn the way they've been playing a little bit lately. They haven't been good in conference. The only thing where you could look at them is just kind of the Iron Bowl, the rivalry. These teams hate each other because Bama's just been really good. What are they, 15-1 in conference play? They've just dominated. So yeah, I looked at Auburn last night a lot in this game. I'm just going to stay off. Yeah, there might be points too. I'd lean over. We got a big total though.
Yeah, big total, but it's going up, and I agree with it. I think it does go over. All right, next up, we've got Oklahoma, Kansas State. Kansas State 7.5-point home favorites, and 142 is the total in this game. Kansas State, I think, will absolutely win this game. It's just a question of, do you want to lay 7.5 with them here against the Oklahoma Sooners, who do have the propensity sometimes to be in games and stay competitive. They did that at Texas. And again, their last road game too at Iowa State, they went outright as underdogs. So they've been actually very good their last 2 road games. Do you want to lay this much with Kansas State is the question, but I like the spot. Oklahoma beat down Kansas State 79-65 last month. That's when Kansas State was dealing with a couple of injuries at the time. Now, of course, they're for the most part relatively healthy. I think it's definitely a good revenge spot here for the better basketball team. And they have won and covered 2 straight here on their home floor. They've been very good on their home floor all season long, really outside of the loss at Texas. Bramlage Coliseum has been good. I'd probably consider a split here, first half, full game, K-State. What do you think, Connor?
This is a big one here because Oklahoma's owned them the last couple of years. The only thing is it's 7.5, and everyone's seeing what you just talked about. You know, they lost to them big back here at home. Should whip that ass. I'd lay it. If I lean here, I think you lay the points. Even though Oklahoma's played better on the road, sometimes they just get throttled and they can't score. And the defense is kind of gone, you know. And it was so good early on in their unders. I couldn't trust them, so I'd lay it here with K-State.
All right, K-State. I definitely lean to the K-State as well here. Like I say, I might split it up first half, full game. Penn State, Northwestern. Northwestern 3.5-point home favorites. 4 in some spots, 134 the total. I like the home favorite here as well, Northwestern. They've had a very good season, obviously. A great job by Chris Collins coaching this group. I've been impressed with what I've seen out of Northwestern. It's a great spot in terms of them being off back-to-back road losses at Illinois and Maryland. No shame in that. Two good teams that are very good at home. I think Northwestern bounces back. They've been awesome here at home, here in Big Ten play, especially the last 3 games, beating really good teams, Purdue, Indiana, Iowa, with 3 straight wins and covers here on their home floor. So I think they get the job done here against Penn State. Penn State's actually played all right here. 3 wins in their last 4 games, but you look at who they beat. They beat Illinois. That was at home. The 2 road wins were Minnesota, who are awful, and Ohio State struggling mightily when they played the Buckeyes. Their other road games where they blowout losses to Rutgers, Purdue, Nebraska, and Maryland. I think that's the Penn State we see tonight. Northwestern, I think, wins, and I think they cover and win by enough margin to cash this ticket. Connor, what do you think?
I think they win. They really don't want to lay 4.5 with Northwestern. This team just keeps getting it done in certain ways, and watch, they cover here tonight. So that'd be my look. I lean the under. Penn State can kind of go over and be quick, while Northwestern's been a great under team, and they're at home. So I think they kind of dictate the pace. So I just haven't bet it yet. It was just a lean for me here, this under 134.
All right. Next up here, we've got, as we continue along, Texas and TCU in the Big 12. We've got TCU 3-point home favorites, 149.5 the total. I like the spot here for TCU, but unfortunately, I got in at minus 130 money line. The money line itself has gotten all the way up to 50, 55. I'm even seeing minus 150, minus 155. Getting a little pricey right now, but I do think it sets up well here for the Horned Frogs here on their home floor, taking on Texas. If you'll remember earlier this season, it was a tight down to the wire affair. Texas ended up with a 4-point win, 79-75 over TCU. TCU's covered 3 straight in the head-to-head series between these two teams. And for TCU, a team that had been sort of leaking oil a bit, to get that road win at Texas Tech was significant. Texas, you look at them recently on the road. They lose it by 8 at Kansas, lose by 7 at Texas Tech, lose by 9 at Baylor. So away from Austin, things haven't been nearly as good. So I really like the spot, and I did bet TCU. I just hate that, I bet at minus 130, and now I've got to talk about it on this show, and it's minus 150.55 on the money line now. So you either have to lay a bigger price, a pretty substantial one, or you lay the 3, and even that's gone up. But yeah, for me, I would still like the Horned Frogs here at home. What do you think, C-Mac?
It's tough now with the 3. Like last night, it was 1.5. I thought it was all right. Or you could have went money line like you did, or even at 2. Texas is off that loss. They did beat them earlier in a close game. The road teams 5-0 the last 5 in this series. Kind of gives pause. Like maybe this, after a loss, Texas would play better, but they haven't been great on the road. Too. I lean over a little bit, but I think the line's pretty sharp. We're right around 149. So right away, TCU. I think it's TCU or nothing for me here, but it's just tough to lay 3. No.
All right. Tough to lay 3. I agree with that. All right. This is the final game for us in the regular season slate. Utah State, UNLV. We've got Utah State 2.5-point road favorites, 148 being the total in this game. I think I like Utah State here. I just think they're a better basketball team. They're capable on the road. They do have a winning road record. I've really become increasingly unimpressed with what I'm seeing out of UNLV. They really could have lost 4 straight. They escaped by the skin of their teeth against Air Force in their last game at home, 54-53. I can't explain what's happened to them offensively, but they've gone downhill in that department. Utah State defensively had some issues earlier in conference play, but they're on a nice little stretch here, 60s below, allowing 5 straight opponents below 70 points. So defensively, they picked up. Certainly, Utah State, I know they won against UNLV at home earlier this year. UNLV covered, but Utah State, you look at what they did previously here, especially at UNLV. They won by 9 on this floor the last time they made the trip here to Thomas and Mack Center. I just think there's a difference between these two teams right now, and Utah State money line to me looks cheap at $1.40. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's tough to see. Thomas and Mack Center is quiet. Church going on. And they're that big old arena. God, it's shitty. You don't want to take them as a dog maybe here, but I can't. And the thing is, Utah State just shoots it so well. And you mentioned this total is high. These teams were over teams, but Utah State's been on an underrun. You mentioned the defense has been better, and I don't know if they shoot it as well on the road. But they can get hot anywhere. So I'm with you. I lean Utah State, and I like this under. I think the total was just a little bit too high. I'm worried it could get into the back and forth and fly over, but I think it's an under game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely could, because you're going to get pace. But again, you've seen certainly Utah State get better defensively, and UNLV's offense kind of in the tank right now. So that's why I like the side more than the total.
Injuries too. Rodriguez is out. Right. Parquette's not again.
That hasn't helped. And I still like Kevin Kruger, but obviously he's had a lot to deal with here with UNLV of late as the head coach of this team with the injuries. All right, the rest of the games on our first segment are going to be conference tournament action. We're going to go to the start with the Ohio Valley Conference. OVC gets underway tonight with their conference tournament. All these games at the Ford Center in Evansville. We'll start with Lindenwood taking on Southeast Missouri State. We've got SEMO minus 7.5-point favorites, 148 being the total in this one. SEMO's taking the money, and I don't doubt that they're the better team. Certainly record-wise, it's indicative of that. And they're only 2-14 away from home this year. Lindenwood, it's been a tough. Remember, there's a team that's in Division I basketball for the first time this season, Lindenwood. So it's been a little bit of a struggle for them, but it's a regional rivalry. They're both Missouri schools. And Lindenwood, actually, the last couple of games, CMAC, they beat Southeast Missouri State 105-102 a couple of weeks ago. And then they beat UALR, Little Rock, 97-96 in overtime after that. So for as bad as they've played, you could argue that they're at least coming into this game tonight with some degree of confidence. Meanwhile, SEMO, they're only 2-5 straight up in their last 7 games and against the spread in their last 7. So, that honestly isn't anything to write home about. Lindenwood's been a horrendous defensive team all year. I don't deny that. But Lindenwood is a great 3-point shooting team. That is one of their strengths, 70th in the country shooting the rock from the perimeter. And SEMO is a way below average defensive team against the 3. So I think Lindenwood, there's a pathway for them to keep this game competitive. They're coming in here in some better form. They already know they can beat Southeast Missouri State because they did it just a couple of weeks ago. On a neutral court, give me the 7.5 here with Lindenwood. That's the side I like. I like the over, too. I think it sets up for offensive advantages on both sides. What do you think here? Ohio Valley Conference tournament action.
I think you play the over, too. Even though they just played and, whatever the score was that you talked about, 100 to whatever, 105. So we don't need to get that crazy. After you see a team, you play them in a couple days or a week. Usually the defense is better, and you see kind of a way lower scoring game. I still think this can get over the number. I got to take the points too. You mentioned the threes. Is SEMO a little bit better? I mean, yeah, but I don't know about 7.5. To me, I think you take the dog here.
All right, we go to the other first round Ohio Valley Conference tournament game in Evansville tonight. Southern Indiana and SIU Edwardsville. We've got Edwardsville 1.5 2-point favorites, 151 being the total here in this game. Nice little situational advantage, just a little one here for Southern Indiana. They're playing this game in Evansville, the home state. So I'm not saying that a flock of Southern Indiana fans are going to be there, but it is a nice little advantage for them. I kind of like them as a dog here. I think it's a coin flip game. I think that, I could make cases for either of these teams. Both of these teams, this is another probably high-scoring game. It's just a question of do you want to go over 151.5. But Southern Indiana is a very fast-paced team. Play with tempo, play with pace. Edwardsville's above average in that department. These teams lack a little on the defensive end of the floor. But I think this little advantage here, Southern Indiana, they're playing in their home state. It's a team that, again, offensively, they're fine. Their issues have been at the other end of the floor. But you look at it against a team like Edwardsville that comes into this game only winning once in their last 5 games. Again, we've got a situation where the team that's the slight favorite here is not in great form. And Southern Indiana at least comes in off a couple of wins. 3 of their last 5 down the stretch they won, including a upset win at Tennessee State, 93-81. Southern Indiana, 4 straight overs for them, and Edwardsville, 5 straight overs for them coming into this game tonight. So I like SIU. I should clarify Southern Indiana. You could say they're both SIU, but Southern Indiana, I like them plus the deuce, and I like the over 151.5. Connor, what do you think?
I'll be quick. I'm going to stay off the side here. Just take the over. And a lot of conference games I'm going to get to and lean the under. These two teams, though, I think that's just the play here. And I think at 150, because it's tucked down a bit, I mean, to me, it's just an overplay at 150. It might even be a little bit of a bargain because this could be like 155, 156, if this was a month ago or so. So over.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you want a fun basketball game, you'll get it here. With these two teams, top 100 in tempo. Both teams are better offensively than defensively. So definitely.
And they played one lower scoring game, and one that got over this number, like 84 or 72. I think we get more of the 84-72 type game.
Yeah, I definitely think it will. And this is a later game, 10 p.m. It's not a West Coast game. It's just a later game because of the staggered start times. The tournament games are in the same building. So this is at 10 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. Pacific this game tonight, Southern Indiana with Edwardsville. All right, let's go to the Big South Conference first round. Every year this tournament is in the same building, Bojangles Coliseum, Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got Charleston Southern and High Point. High Point, 2.5-point home favorites in this game, 153.5 the total. Bart Torvik, my Bible for college basketball, has a huge discrepancy in the total here compared to the real total. He's got this total at 159. Okay, and the total in this game is only at 153.5. So, and this is another game where we could project probably a good pace. High Point is going to push that basketball, 21st in tempo in the country. Charleston Southern's actually below average tempo, but they are a good offensive team. They're efficient, so what they lack in tempo, they make up for in efficiency, and they are near the bottom of Division I college basketball defensively. Charleston Southern, 359 defensive efficiency. in college basketball. So I like this over as well. And you know what? To be honest with you, Charleston Southern and High Point, it's another one where I think the dog makes some sense. You look at Charleston Southern's form down the stretch. Here's another team that, they've had their ups and their downs this year, but I'm always looking for signs that a team, despite what their overall record is, started to play a little bit better down the stretch. And we saw Charleston Southern enter off a win, and we saw High Point kind of, up and down the stretch of the season. And you look at the series history this year between these two teams, they split. Charleston Southern won on their home court, High Point won on their home court. So I think it's competitive, has me leaning toward the 3 here with Charleston Southern, and another game where I think we'll see points in it. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, we should see some points here, whether it gets over. Maybe. Charleston Southern seems like they're going to give it up. I like the other way, and I don't love High Point, and really laying points, but I agree a little bit to this move. There are a couple threes like you talked about. I think 2.5. I'd take High Point here. I think they get the job done.
All right. So I've mentioned I'm on a lot of dogs here so far in the conference tournaments. We're going to flip course with this next game here, Presbyterian and Campbell. Campbell 6.5 point home favorites, 127.5. Campbell's red hot right now. If you look at them down the stretch, I was starting to cash some tickets with them. Machine. The covering machine. I ain't stepping in front of them. And Presbyterian, you look at teams that are coming into the tournament with no momentum, that would be Presbyterian. They have just been obliterated. They've had a brutal stretch down the stretch of the regular season. They have not played good basketball. I actually think the number's reasonable. They've been covering numbers consistently, game in, game out. So give me the Camels. Campbell, -6.5 in this one. I think they win by margin, win decisively. What do you think here, Connor?
That's what I have to play. And Campbell to me is the team I always want to be grabbing points, the laying 6.5, but Presbyterian's just falling off here. And they just played a couple weeks ago, right? They won 74-57. Yeah. I think that's more of that here. Presbyterian's just lost it. The Blue Hose, rough one. I think they go down here. Campbell wins by 10.
That's a stinky pair of Blue Hose they've got right now with the Presbyterian right now. Not the kind you want your wife to be wearing. That's for sure at this point in time. All right. Next up, we go to the Northeast Conference quarterfinal action. All of these games are true home games, by the way. So Long Island, Merrimack, we'll start with that. This is a home game for Merrimack. This is on Merrimack's home court. We've got Merrimack, 18-point home favorites, 133.5 the total in this game. When you're talking about a team like Merrimack that's going to play in the half court, slow the pace down, they are an excellent defensive team. I don't deny that whatsoever. And I know this is a god-awful LIU Brooklyn side who's lost their last 3 games by double digits. But we're talking about a low-paced game. We're talking about having a win by more than 18 points. That's a lot of points to be laying in a conference tournament. Now, this is a true home game. It's not a neutral court, but that's still a lot of points to be laying. But I don't know if I have the stomach to take LIU Brooklyn. As I've said, when we're talking about point spreads that get beyond 15 in a conference tournament, I'm a dog or pass guy. Look at Green Bay last night. Yeah, they only covered by the hook, but they covered. They were 20.5 against Wright State. They lost by 20. It's damn difficult to win by this kind of margin in a conference tournament game. So, but I'm off it. But if I were to get involved in this game, it would be the dog. Hold your nose, special, but I'm never going to lay 18 in a conference tournament game. That's just not going to happen. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not either. Merrimack wins here. Maybe they can name it. And I do think they probably cover. Remember, LIU's just that bad. They've been horrible on the road. But you mentioned it's conference game here. I can't take them, though. I think, it's dog or pass, and I'm passing. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, next up here, we got St. Francis, New York against Fairleigh Dickinson. Fairleigh Dickinson, 9.5-point home favorites, 143 being the total in this one. Of course, this is a true home game for FDU here in this matchup. 8-5, by the way, on their home court. St. Francis, Brooklyn, obviously their record hasn't been great, 14-15, but you are talking about a big number here for Fairleigh Dickinson. Fairleigh Dickinson hasn't been good covering point spreads lately, just 2-5 against the spread their last 7 games. We'll see how they fare here against St. Francis, Brooklyn. My issue with taking St. Francis, Brooklyn is Fairleigh Dickinson beat the hell out of them twice. I mean, non-competitive they were. They lost by 19. They lost by 17. I think there's reasons to like St. Francis current form-wise because Fairleigh Dickinson has had a hard time covering point spreads lately. But They've had the matchup advantage. St. Francis, New York has had no issues or no solution, I should say, no answers for Fairleigh Dickinson in the 2 meetings this year. So for that reason, that's going to keep me off this game entirely. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Keeps me off. I'd take the dog here too if I had to, and I kind of would. One thing, St. Fred, they struggle. They're slow scoring it. They shoot the 3 and they chuck a ton, but if those go down, I think they could hang around. And Fairleigh Dickinson, that defense is not good. I think that could. I know they beat them up. You mentioned both times, whatever it was, 17 and 20, but I think you take the points here. I think they could maybe hang around. It's tough to take St. Francis of Brooklyn, but I think you take the points.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I do lean dog a little bit, but I'm just worried after seeing the way they just got dummied twice by Fairleigh this year. But maybe things change tonight. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Central Connecticut State, St. Francis, Pennsylvania, SFPA, 4.5-point favorites, 141. Again, this is a true home game here for SFPA in this one. This is just 2 bad teams take the dog as far as I'm concerned, although I'm not rushing to take CCSU. Central Connecticut, but I'm not ready to lay points here with St. Francis, Pennsylvania either. The team split the season series. St. Francis PA won on their home floor by 8. Central Connecticut returned the favor, and they won on their home floor by 14, 88-74. Kind of lean over. Both meetings this year went over the total with these 2 teams. Although it is worth noting, neither team has been trending over down the stretch. And in fact, for Central Connecticut, the offense rather, has really stagnated. They've been held to 67 points or less 3 of their last 4 games down the stretch. So just a small lean to the over and Central Connecticut plus the points, but nothing I'm overly excited about or confident with. What do you think, Connor?
I think this total, it can get over. I think this goes up and down. We know St. Francis PA likes to score, not great defensively. And anything could happen with these 2 teams. It's betting on these teams like this. Anything can happen. But I'd lay it here, the 4.5 with St. Francis PA. I just think they're better.
All right, Wagner and Sacred Heart here, the final game for the Northeast Conference quarterfinal matchups. Sacred Heart 2.0 favorites, 128 the total. Sacred Heart down the stretch, scuffling a little bit, no question. 2 and 3 in their last 5 games. And the only victories were FDU and Central Connecticut, which are 2 of the bottom feeder teams here. And they actually lost to St. Francis PA as well during this run, which was a really bad loss for them as well. Wagner on the flip side, back-to-back wins to end the regular season against Stonehill and SFPA. These 2 teams split in the regular season series. Wagner got the first meeting at home, 68-58. Sacred Heart returned the favor, 65-56 in the return match. Wagner's one of those teams that early in the conference season and really earlier in the season in general, they really had their share of issues and struggles, but they gradually got a little bit healthier. You started to see that defense really start to improve, and it really got better down the stretch. Wagner's entering this game on a streak where they have given up no more than 66 points in 5 straight games. 4 of those games they allowed 58 or less. So this team is locking it down defensively, and defense can travel, even in a conference tournament game that is a true home court game for Sacred Heart. So I think Wagner could pull this one out. I'm definitely interested in the Seahawks here. Wagner +2. What do you think, Connor?
I think if you like Wagner, then you like the under. It's not at 128, not a bargain, but I think it stays under. It could be a little bit close, but I think that if you like the other side, Sacred Heart, which I really don't, I think you like the over. They got to score. They probably got to get to 70, 75, and Wagner hasn't really given that up. Wagner just struggles. Man, they're slow. It's just that offense is putrid to watch, so it's tough for me. I'm off, lean under.
All right, there we go. The good stuff. There you go. That is the first segment, regular season, and we got through every conference tournament game taking place throughout 3 conferences with conference tournament games tonight, Ohio Valley and Big South, and, of course, the Northeast Conference. So I'll be tuned into those every bit as much, if not more, as the other stuff this time of year. I love conference tournament basketball. You usually get great games and very competitive games as well. All right, other games that we have not talked about yet on this show, Connor Mack, that you like, let us hear it.
Yeah, I took George Washington. I took the 8.5. I thought the number was too big there with them. I took Southern Utah -5. Grand Canyon's looked a little better, but they've gotten their ass whipped on the road. I think Southern Utah pulls away there. They're just so good shooting it on their home floor. I like Fordham. Someone just put it in the chat. +4. I think that game could be close, and the under 135 in that one. I kind of leaned to that under there. ECU +6.5. I saw the total last night, Bano 153. I thought this is over, and it's moved. And I think there's points. I think it gets over the number. And I think it's 155 now. So I like the over in that one. I think that's about it. I wrote down DePaul. I don't know if I take them +17.5. And that's it.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. All right, I'll rhyme off my card quickly. Richmond St. Joe's over. St. Joe's, I don't know. They can't defend anything lately. So I think low 1-4. I know Richmond's offense is hit or miss, but I think we can get points in that game. I like the over there. Same with UMass Duquesne. George Washington, yeah, I don't mind them plus the points. The over there as well. Missouri LSU. I like Missouri a little bit there on the road. They're not always great on the road, Missouri, but I think against this LSU team that's flatline, they can win by enough of a margin. I think that game probably goes over. I'm on Tulane in the over against East Carolina. I know East Carolina's given them some problems in the past, but this just isn't really an East Carolina team I have a whole lot of faith in right now. So I think Tulane can win and cover as favorites on the road there. I think that game goes over. I like Utah Tech, slight home favorites against Seattle. Billy Briz mentioning Gonzaga first half. I was actually tempted by Chicago State full game. I mean, this, a huge amount of points with Gonzaga coming off the big revenge game against St. Mary's on Saturday at home.
Yeah.
Do they really drill them? That's the question. It is a big mismatch on paper, but
it's huge. I have to say, you mentioned the game. Are they a little flat? One thing with Gonzaga lately, they've demolished teams first half. Yeah. So if Billy likes, I go full game with Chicago State. They kind of give it up. First half, they're just beating teams down, it seems like. So
yeah, they've been great in the first half. You can't argue with that at all. Yeah, Southern Utah, I'm kind of with you on that one against Grand Canyon as well. Rio Grande Valley, Cal Baptist over. I like that. And then on the added board, not really a whole lot tonight for me on the added board. I actually like New Orleans a little bit. New Orleans has been a nice little covering machine for me lately. New Orleans Privateers, they're +3 against McNeese State. I like that bet a little bit. Lean to the over as well in that game. Incarnate Word as well, +11 against Northwestern State. There's a team that's perked up a little bit here in recent games. So, yeah, that would be the 3 bets on the added board. New Orleans plus the points over the total with that game as well against McNeese State. And also Incarnate Word +11 against Northwestern State. So, there we go. Pitt, Notre Dame. I ain't betting against Pitt. I ain't betting against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's actually been a nice little moneymaker for me lately, so I'm totally off that game. Nothing on Notre Dame.
I am too. It's Bray, the last game there, everything with him.
Feels like a good situation for the Irish, yes, that they get up for it. Play hard for them, for Bray. Yep.
They haven't looked great in the first half. I take Pitt early. I go first half with them. It's just, this is an emotional spot here for Notre Dame. To me, I'm with you, though. To me, I just Pitt. Pitt's been rolling.
Yeah, I lean Houston Christian there. I with your thought there, but I didn't bet it in that game. And Stephen F. Austin, that one is right where it should be. Sam Houston State's now a slight road favorite. If it's a pick, I like Sam Houston State a little bit in that, but not enough to take. I actually lean Sam Houston.
The line's moved. Moved to 1.5. So
yeah. I've had some rough experiences the last, I would say, month or so with Stephen F. Austin. So I'm a little hesitant to pull the trigger on them in that game, but I'm probably going to end up staying off it. All right, great stuff. That's the Wednesday slate. We're back to wrap. We've got best bets coming out. Hit the like button, 217 live viewers. We appreciate it very much. But hit that like button, and we'll be back with best bets to wrap up the show right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com. Promo code PubSports, 20% off and free shipping using promo code PubSports at manscaped.com. All right, best bets to wrap it up for this Wednesday edition. Conor Mack, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, I already shout those out. I'm on George Washington, the 8.5, and Southern Utah, the 5. But I'm on the Lindenwood, Missouri State over 147.5 in that one. And that's it. Take Campbell, too. I think they cover the 6.5.
All right, there we go. Good stuff from Conor Mack. Multiple best bets there for C-Mac here on this.
I got a shitload of bets.
Yeah,
a banner bets today.
I know. High volume. That's high volume for C-Mac right there. What he just gave you on the show. All right, best bet for me here. I'm going to go to conference tournament action as well here in this one tonight. And I'm going to go to Southern Indiana +2 against Edwardsville. Indiana, again, this is in the state for them. I think that's a nice little advantage that they'll have. They're certainly offensively capable. I was going back and forth. Do I go with that or do I go with the over? I will go with Southern Indiana +2 against Edwardsville. I'm also going to actually give you 2 best bets, and I don't do this often, but this was close to being best bet. So what the hell? We'll give you 2 best bets. We'll give you Southern Indiana +2 against SIU Edwardsville, and we'll go with Wagner +2 against Sacred Heart. I think both of them get the job done. Short dogs, and I find short dogs long-term in conference tournaments are good bets. They're actually very profitable long-term. Doesn't mean you blindly bet them, but I think it makes sense in both of these games. You've got a Southern Indiana team that's got confidence off a win to end the season. A suspect defensive team on the other side, playing in their home state. And then you've got Wagner that I think is flat out playing better basketball. And I think we're better down the stretch current form than Sacred Heart. So I like both of these short underdogs here tonight. Southern Indiana +2, Wagner +2. For best bets here for this Wednesday college basketball net profit show. All right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, we're back tomorrow on Thursday for another edition. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the college basketball net profit show right here, Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the Southtown 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2, baby.